Honestly, it's going to be hard for the next couple of weeks not to talk about what is going on in the general election campaign. Because as I'm sure you've seen some of my last videos, just the first launch of the 24 hours in this campaign were absolutely shambolic. And of course, you then have Rishi Sunak's Titanic adventure in Belfast, which got referred to as something akin of a clown running through a minefield. It's highly hilarious at the time, but you're always going to be remembering that it was raining, clown bits upon you later on. Funny to watch at the time, but unbelievable to think about happening at the time when we are told that this is meant to be such a professionally run operation. Has the CCHQ not only accepted some of the rot that has come in from the Tory party that we've seen in Westminster become so shambolic that it can't even now run effectively a general election campaign. So it is going to be incredibly difficult to, shall we say, turn to other things during the election campaign. But one thing which will always be funny and always be fun to laugh at, of course, is Brexiteers complaining about the consequences of their actions. Because today we've got a real doozy of a Brexiteer complaining about the consequences of their actions. And one of the interesting things is we are seeing a number of Brexiteers jump ship. And there's a lot of rumors maybe suggesting that these people have mainly finally realized that, oh, actually, that consequence or that iceberg is coming pretty far ahead. Maybe we should get to the lifeboats while we can before that, that iceberg hits the Titanic. But we're going to, before we do get more into this, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page, the one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there is the Pony Club down below. So do go check those out down below, and you can always click the like and share button. That always helps. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment down below as well. So let's crack on into this then, shall we? Coming from The Independent with the title of Tory MP demands Brexit damage to school group tourism is eased. And as we're going to find out, this particular Tory MP campaigned for Brexit. What's one of the things we've been seeing? That school group tourism, not just people coming, groups coming from the EU into the UK, but of course, groups from, the UK going into Europe. I remember when we did German, we went on a trip, surprisingly, to Germany. It's a thing that you always do at some point during your school life. At some point, we did as well. So now it's become shockingly, increasingly harder to actually do that. Who would have thought? And yet here you have a Brexiteer Tory MP complaining about the consequences she asked for, or in some cases demanded. So a Conservative MP who campaigned for Brexit has now joined growing calls to ease the ban on travel to the UK by European school groups with ID cards. Sally Ann Hart, MP for Hastings and Rye, told The Independent it is, quote, vital that barriers to restoring inbound tourism are removed. You asked for these barriers. This is what you campaigned for. Oh, her constituency has seen a collapse in school groups from the EU. Again, consequence of her own actions. She wanted this. She was warned about this, but there you go. Who previously stayed in the town while on English language courses. In 2021, the government had banned the use of ID cards by visitors to the UK. Faced with an almost insurmountable hurdle to ensuring that every student visiting the UK has a passport, school groups have now switched to Malta and Ireland for English language courses. Bernard Dugan, the director of the Association of Leading Visitor Attractions of ALVA, says that the ID card ban has been, quote, a disastrous act of economic self-harm. He told The Independent, our English language schools have been missing out on both customers and money for the last 3 years. Miss Hart's constituency has been singled out by the chief executive of Visit Britain as an example of the damage caused. In 2021, Patricia Yates told MPs, you will find destinations like Hastings absolutely decimated by the lack of school visits. Miss Hart said that the inbound tourism is one of the few jewels in the crown of the British economy, and it is vital that the government actually ensures that these barriers to growth are removed to allow it to achieve its full potential. This includes working to boost numbers of language students coming here to the UK to learn English, including in the beautiful constituency of Hastings and Rye. Um, Meanwhile, what happened? Of course, in October of 2021, Priti Patel came along and carried out her promise to, quote, end the use of insecure ID cards for people to enter our country, saying, we are trying to strengthen our border by delivering on the people's priority to take back control of our immigration system. But UK inbound, the representing the tourism business, said that this has now had a hugely detrimental effect on the UK's and it is valuable school group travel industry. Schools in France are now allowed to bring groups with ID cards, but the inbound tourism industry is now calling for further relaxation. They've said the communities across the UK, particularly in coastal areas where traditionally home to language schools and many of these school groups attended, are now losing out on valuable expenditure. Many British families who also traditionally would host students every year are also missing out on this income they would otherwise likely received. What a surprise. What a surprise. What a surprise. That he would do this. What a surprise that they, the Brexiteers feeling a consequence of their actions. Because this was one of the things the Brexiteers wanted. They complained about how bad ID cards are. You can't use ID cards. The only true secure thing is a passport. Which, when you think about it, all an ID card is just a slimmer version of a passport in many cases. And yet, they have been resisting calls to issue ID cards for a number of years, even since when we had the conversation came back up again, when the whole voter ID laws came in. We saw the big conversation around that come in. Oh, no, can't have ID cards. That's just an invasion of privacy and would impact on the freedom of people in Britain. I have right now probably on my person. I'm obviously going on holiday soon, so I've got a passport. What's the difference between having an ID card and a passport? And of course, I've got my driver license, which is also a photo ID. What's the difference of having another card that has my face on as an approved form of ID? Oh no, the tyranny. The tyranny. Oh, anyway, this comes back to obviously the Tourism Alliance, representing the tourism trade, said the likelihood of anyone absconding from this cohort is very small. The children have families back in their resident countries and are now accompanied by an adult with all full documentation. The organisation claims that inbound school groups previously contributed at least £28.6 billion annually to the UK economy. Now, Miss Hart said, in my previous campaign literature, I voted to leave and have campaigned ever since to respect the will of the people. The slump in the value of sterling relative to the euro down to 15% since the EU referendum makes the UK more financially attractive to overseas visitors who have the correct documentation. Yeah, I voted to leave. I've campaigned ever since to respect the will of the people. God, they're still trotting out that phrase as if it means something. It's just easily the most meaningless phrase ever. The will of the people. Well, okay, if it's the will of the people, why did you not have a second referendum? Many Brexiteers advocated for having two referendums. Why did you not want a second referendum when that was an option? Why then did we not put Boris Johnson's Brexit deal to the people? Do you really want this? Do you really want to have the consequences, of this deal? Many of them will say, oh, but that was what the 2019 general election was all about. But yeah, here we are once again, Brexiteer crying about, their own actions. I'm not surprised. We will see this. This will be a continuing feature until we eventually reverse this, and then they'll cry about how Brexit has been reversed, and that'll be the new cottage industry of, oh well, we didn't Brexit properly. That we've been over that topic many times before. So, of course, before we get finish off this, thank you very much for watching, and of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.